We're also going to be talking Uncle Nearest, the black owned whiskey brand that has been breaking records for years now. They're staring down a $108 million problem. We talked a bit about that last week, and we're going to dig into those details. You know, we have a law and order beat here on the show because we're always, thank you, Andy. We are always getting into these cases, and it only makes sense to bring in an expert to break them down, get into the intricacies of the whole situation. So we have entertainment lawyer Nyanza Shaw in the building, and we're going to get into those details. So let's talk about Uncle Nearest. It was founded by Fawn Weaver in 2017 in honor of Nathan Nearest Green, the enslaved man who taught Jack Daniel to distill whiskey, right? Obviously, Nathan's family does not get, I don't believe, a proceed from Jack Daniels. I think
Not from Jack Daniels.
Yeah, but I do. They do from
yeah,
this.
they are involved in.
But from what he initially created, he does not. So this was sort of started in homage to that. In addition to creating this great whiskey, it's been a cultural juggernaut, right?
Yep.
And now, creditor Farm Credit Mid-America says the distillery owes them $108 million in outstanding loans, claiming that they misrepresented the number of barrels of whiskey that they have, and they wanted to take control of those barrels as collateral. And a Judge Ashley Jr., he ruled on August 14th that the company will go into receivership. So, Nyanza, could you, one, explain to us what receivership is and what that means for a business? And two, kind of walk us through the steps of how a business could end up in such a position and what it really means overall.
Absolutely. I mean, the case itself seems very straightforward. They took out a loan, and a lot of big businesses take out a loan. It's actually includes 3 different loans. So there's been a process where Farm Credit Mid-America has given them additional monies as recently as April 2025. They revised the loan agreement. And so this has been an ongoing relationship. So it seems like when it gets to the point where they're not getting repaid, and most lenders don't want to own property and don't want to own whiskey barrels. Right. They want to get repaid, right? And so if there's any inkling that they don't feel like they're going to get paid, then this is the step that they take to say, okay, you're now in default. We want to figure out where is this money at. So a receiver is a person who comes in, it's the third party person that takes control of the company to manage the assets so that the current owners aren't in a position to liquidate the assets, devalue the company, do anything that would mitigate them being able to repay this loan. And in this instance, the creditor is saying, not only are you in default in this total amount of $108 million, but there are certain provisions related to that loan document and contingencies that were not met. Some of it is payments, some of it is disclosures, and some of it is relative to the valuation of barrels that seem to be off. So there was a hearing, I believe, on August 7th, first, that Keith Weaver, Fawn's husband, appeared at. And to be clear, remember, this is a civil lawsuit, so there's no criminal charges involved. And they admitted that they're in default of the loan. They're not denying they're in default of the loan, but one of their defenses is that there was a CFO who was responsible for the miscalculation of the valuation of the barrels, and that CFO is no longer with the company. The judge did not necessarily agree that they could then, put that blame on the CFO, and that, as a CEO, you should know what's going on in your company. So right. Whether it's the CFO or somebody else's responsibility, you're ultimately responsible. The other big thing that came up at that hearing and in the subsequent hearing when he did decide, yes, there's going to be a receiver appointed, was relative to the marketing of the company. Because what was really interesting is Keith is saying, oh my God, it would be catastrophic if Fawn was removed because she's the face of the brand, as we
Hmm.
know, and it would then harm the business and the marketing of the business because she's basically the marketing juggernaut
Right.
behind it.
Right.
And so that also came up in that hearing. So actually, as of tomorrow, both parties are able to submit names of potential folks to be the receivers for and
Interest.
oversee the control of the company. And it hasn't been determined specifically what her role would be moving forward.
So there is a gag order that is
Yes.
attached to it. Um, do you see, because I see a lot of commentary saying, and to your point, taking out a loan as a business, it takes money to make money is an old saying, and it's very true. A lot of people I've seen in comments are saying they're trying to take the company from, they're trying to take something black owned away from us. Do you think that it is something, maybe not that on the nose, but do you think that it is something to it being a profitable business? And you said that creditors don't want to own property,
No.
but most people believe that they do.
No, banks loan money all the time, even in a mortgage situation, very basic, right? But they want to get paid for, they don't want to own a whole bunch of homes. They want to get paid back for their mortgage and for their loans. I'm glad you raised the gag order issue. It kind of came out twofold in that initially they said, we definitely want Fawn to continue to market the company because we know that that's valuable. And even Farm Credit's lawyers agreed to that and said that's important. Um, so the gag order obviously was relative to the case and the perception of what's happening and the positions that she's taken, where it's like, she's said statements like her back is against the wall and we're built for this and, we shall overcome, rah, rah, rah. Some people are saying it does create this perception that they're taking something from her. Actually, that's what it kind of
Right.
sounds like. Not even that they're taking something from the company, that they're taking something from her. Um, and so I don't feel like that's an appropriate perception. But do I also feel like she's not really communicating her position as best as she can in terms of still wanting to value the company and taking accountability for the fact that, admittedly, you guys are in default. This is not a made up claim. This is not, just random allegations. It's factual. You all took out loans that haven't been paid back.
Interesting, interesting. Andy, you look like you had something. No? Okay. Well,
Come on, Andy. You don't have a question or a comment?
Forrest Harrison in the chat says, as many bottles of Uncle Nearest I've purchased over the years, they should have more than enough dollars. So you personally are holding them down. I believe it. Listen, when
I
we come.
believe it. I think what's interesting though is even with the clear the shelves narrative that she's selling, most of those bottles that are out now are consigned, paid for, etc. They're not going to hit the bottom line revenue and have any effect on this lawsuit in the short term. So that's also why some people are questioning her motives of that messaging.
Well, the fans don't know that, and she just wants to,
Exactly.
try and run it up. I'm not mad at it.